Good evening. Welcome to the regular meeting of the Richland School District Board of Directors. We will be in recess for executive session until 6:30. Thank you. Okay.
Not very many people for the first day of school.
Everyone has way more fun traditions.
Welcome back to the regular meeting of the Richland School Board of Directors. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
Great. And we are all here tonight, the four of us. As we mentioned last week, our other board member, Chelsea Beck, has submitted her resignation officially as she has moved out of the district and is no longer eligible to serve. So we will be addressing that as well, but the other four of us are here this evening. And with that, I think I want to move into the beginning of our communications, and we want to recognize our new student representative who is here with us this evening, Sinan Farawila, who is a junior at Hanford High School. So welcome. And of course, we have Tiffany Chen back with us as a senior rep this year. So welcome back. Welcome back.
We can clap for you.
Yep. And welcome back to everyone. Today is our first day of school. We know this is an exciting day for our community, for our teachers, and for the students. So it's a great day. And the next thing on our agenda is a parent guardian advisory report. I don't know that we have anyone prepared to give that report this evening. Checking on Zoom if we had anybody who had logged in to do that.
So Tamara.
Is Tamara Harrison online? She said she might be able to call in and give the report. Okay. Can we ask her if she can speak, if she wants to give that report? Okay.
Hello.
Hi, Tamara.
Hi, Katrina. I had two reports. Am I giving the high cap report for the May and June meeting or the August meeting on um, harassment, intimidation, and bullying?
So why don't we start with the one that was supposed to be given in June, because I think that one was not able to be given. And then we can do this other one the next time as you suggested.
Okay, thank you. The Parent Guardian Advisory Committee met on May 19th and June 16th to discuss high cap services in the Richland School District. Both meetings were highly attended. We received a lot of feedback from the community and committee members and therefore have several recommendations. I'll try to get through them quickly. The Parent Guardian Advisory Committee has strong recommendations on systemic equity, accountability, and capacity building. Currently, Richland School District has identified approximately 350 students who have qualified for highly capable program services. Richland School District can only serve 75 of these students at its Quest program located at Lewis and Clark. The committee has strong concerns the other 275 students are not receiving equitable high cap services. Some of our district-wide recommendations are to develop and implement a district-wide highly capable service model that ensures all identified students, regardless of Quest or building-based placement, receive appropriate and consistent services. This model should include defined instructional expectations and service delivery methods for building-based high cap services and support, a dedicated staffing and scheduling plan to provide enrichment, acceleration, and differentiated instruction, required professional development for all general education teachers serving high cap students, progress monitoring and accountability structures to ensure implementation fidelity, clear communication to families about what services their child is receiving and how those services align with high cap eligibility. Ensure that each school designates a point person, example, a building high cap coordinator or instructional coach to oversee service quality and implementation. Adopt and implement a common highly capable curriculum. Select and adopt core and supplemental curriculum materials for high cap instruction across both magnet and building-based settings. Require that the same content standards, performance expectations, and learning targets used in the Quest program apply to building-based instruction. Post adopted curriculum, instructional units, and pacing guides on the district website for transparency and consistency. Establish instructional time and program fidelity requirements. Maintain a minimum number of instructional minutes per week devoted to high cap services for building-based students. Prohibit informal or tokenized service delivery. Example, just giving a child an extra worksheet and instead require scheduled standards-aligned instruction. Monitor fidelity using building schedules, service plans, and walkthroughs. Provide targeted professional development and support. Require general education teachers serving high cap students to complete training in advanced differentiation, depth, and complexity in instructional scaffolding. Offer ongoing coaching or PLC collaboration with Quest teachers to align practices and share materials. Provide access to student-specific service plans and enrichment tools through a centralized platform. Establish district-level monitoring and accountability. Require building principals to submit semester-based high cap implementation reports, including schedules, teacher assignments, and progress monitoring data. Conduct program audits or site visits to ensure compatibility with Quest standards. Solicit feedback from families of building-based high cap students to assess satisfaction and service integrity. Mandate equal access to enrichment opportunities. Ensure that students in building-based programs have access to the same enrichment opportunities as Quest students. Example, STEM fairs, academic competitions, mentorships, project-based learning experiences, and provide transportation or virtual access if events are hosted at magnet locations. Some additional recommendations: develop a transparent communication plan to provide families with accurate, timely, and consistent information about highly capable services, including placement options and Quest transitions. Post this plan on the district's website. Provide professional development to elementary teachers about how to support behavioral challenges when highly capable students are bored and acting out. Update the district's website to clearly state what standardized cognitive ability test is used for the identification process. Post information on the district's website about which forms of outside testing are accepted for highly capable eligibility determinations. So at the primary, at the elementary level, we had some specific ones. Lower the qualifying threshold from 98th percentile to the 95th percentile to expand access to services. Evaluate students for highly capable eligibility beginning in kindergarten. Broaden highly capable services for students in grades K through 5 who attend their neighborhood school and are not enrolled in the Magnet Quest program due to capacity or other reasons. Provide training to all elementary teachers on UDL. Ensure that students can receive services in a single domain, example, math or ELA, without needing to qualify in both areas. Consider the use of student tracking to improve placement decisions and long-term service delivery planning. Create more opportunities for parent involvement in elementary classrooms. I'm almost done, guys. Secondary level, middle and high school, we had some there. Specific, create and publish a clear written description of how honors and advanced services are delivered at each middle school, including course offerings, models of instruction, and staffing structures. Adopt and post consistent definitions for honors and advanced courses and ensure those definitions are reflected in all middle and high school course catalogs. Offer honors and advanced science and social study courses at all middle schools. Align core honors and advanced curriculum across all middle and high schools to ensure equitable access and post-curriculum and supplemental materials on the district's website. Create a clear placement pathway or designated middle school landing spot for students exiting the Elementary Quest program to ensure continuity of services, and post this process on the district's website. We had some specific recommendations also for ensuring the identification and appropriate services for twice exceptional students. So there's a need in Richland School District to provide equitable HICAP services to students who receive special education or 504 services. So we recommend specifically to recognize and proactively identify twice exceptional students, those who qualify for both highly capable services and special education or 504 supports, by refining identification processes to account for asynchronous profiles and masking effects. Ensure that eligibility for special education or 504 services does not exclude or delay access to highly capable services, and that both sets of supports are delivered concurrently, not in place of one another. Develop and implement written guidance and professional development for staff on recognizing twice exceptional characteristics, minimizing bias in screening, and appropriately supporting the academic, behavioral, and emotional needs of twice exceptional learners. Ensure that twice exceptional students receive differentiated instruction and enrichment opportunities appropriate to their areas of strength, while continuing to receive individualized supports as outlined in their IEP or Section 504 plan. Provide mental health and behavior supports tailored to twice exceptional students, particularly those who experience frustration, disengagement, or behavioral challenges due to lack of academic challenge or poor fit. Create individualized HICAP services that align with each twice exceptional student's learning profile and explicitly document how dual services will be coordinated. Ensure that learning expectations for twice exceptional students are aligned with both state learning standards and the rigor of the Quest program, while also being responsive to their unique educational profiles. Instruction should challenge areas of strength while providing accommodations and supports with clear documentation in both HICAP service plans and IEP 504 plans. This ensures twice exceptional students are not held to lower expectations due to their disabilities, nor subject to unrealistic demands in areas of need, preserving access to meaningful, equitable learning. Ensure that families of twice exceptional students are fully informed of their rights to access both special education and highly capable services, and the communication regarding placement options, service models, and progress is timely and clear. So the Parent Guardian Advisory Committee's understanding is that identification of highly capable students alone is not sufficient. HICAP eligibility requires that services be delivered. Denying services to the majority of identified students due to program capacity and lack of training violates the principle of equitable access and diminishes the obligations of the district has to these students. So we really appreciated, thank you everyone, we really appreciated the amount of input we received over both these meetings and captured all of it here within this. Do you guys have any questions?
Thank you, Tamara.
We get it.
Mhm.
Do we have that ready already?
We do, but we'll get it to the
Okay.
full board. Yep.
Thank you. Is it all right, Katrina, to say our next meeting?
Yes.
Okay, so we have our next meeting coming up on September 15th. It'll be on discipline, and then we're going to go over the results of the survey for topics for the next school year and create a calendar at that meeting. We're also looking for a new facilitator and a new secretary if anyone's interested. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Tamara. Okay, we will move into our public comment period. We're opening the meeting now for public comment. This portion of the meeting is an opportunity for members of the public to address the board on matters within our jurisdiction. The board also encourages speakers to present written statements to the board secretary, who will distribute copies to all board members. Please keep your comments brief and focused on the issues before the board. We ask that all comments be respectful and constructive, and that the audience remain quiet and respectful, regardless of your agreement with the viewpoints that are shared. The board will listen to your comments, but will not engage in a back and forth discussion except to ask clarifying questions. Please be aware that comments regarding individual staff or students are not appropriate during this time. If you have a concern about a specific staff member or student situation, please direct it to the superintendent or discuss it with a board member privately. We have 30 minutes total set aside for public comment, and we allow 2 minutes per speaker. We do our best to accommodate everyone who wishes to speak within the 30 minutes. If we run out of time, you're welcome to send additional comments to boardfeedback@rsd.edu. Thank you for your participation. We appreciate all of your time and input. I have 2 people currently signed up. Do we have more from the back?
There are 2 more who signed up at the door.
Okay, so we will start with our first one on the list, Kevin Laws.
I'll just swing by to say hi someday, I promise. I'm Kevin Laws, Director of Bands at Enterprise Middle School, and I'm once again returning to advocate for the Richland School District jazz students and their families. When the hiring freeze was placed on new positions, this eliminated the contracts that are evaluated every year based on program need. Subsequently, this terminated the Jazz 2 courses across the district. The financial struggles facing our district are real, but so is the importance of maintaining sequential classes of a functional size. Previously, Mr. Jansen, Mrs. Mitchell, and Mrs. Olson expressed the sentiment that we need to establish a vertical line of communication involving the music programs when I was here, surgically making cuts and causing as little damage as possible to beloved student programs. However, 2 weeks ago, we were told to confirm our Jazz 2 teachers, give them a call, make sure they were ready. And then a week later, we were told these positions had been eliminated and to either turn them into a club or to teach 2 sections rotationally. This confused parents, students, and assumes additional uncompensated responsibilities on staff. It is not possible to offer appropriate instruction scaffolded to beginning and advanced students in classes of this size. 50 students at Libby Middle School, 55 students at Chief Joseph, 56 at Enterprise, and 62 at Carmichael. This leaves only 2 solutions. We're either forced to cut students on day 1 through an audition model or cut contact time with students in half with a rotational schedule. Neither option represents the vision that Richland School District has for its arts programs, nor does it reflect the conclusions that this board arrived at the last time these programs were at risk. Instrumental music creates a rare space where students are physically, emotionally, and mentally engaged. I've sat in trainings all week that outline the negative effects of over cell phone use, unrestricted digital spaces, and an unwillingness to unplug. The solution is right here. No devices, the family they choose, working together every day to make something beautiful by pushing themselves as hard as they can. We ask again that the board reaffirms its belief through action and how important it is to them that their arts programs be maintained. And we ask that priority be given to rebuilding trust between the administration, district educators, its parents, and its students. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next on my list is Ron Higgins.
The recent Supreme Court decision that allowed Maryland parents to opt their kids out of certain sexually explicit instruction. And the ruling was 6-3. And one of the minority decision was, one of them was made by Justice Sotomayor. And I'll quote her here. This is from, I got this from the advocate.com. I don't recommend that as a good news source nonetheless, but I think they're accurate. She said in her dissent that you shouldn't allow parents to opt kids out, that this ruling threatens the very essence of public education, as it constitutionalizes a parental veto power over curricular choices long left to the democratic process and local administrators. Well, I would beg to differ with Justice Sotomayor in that that ruling preserves public education, because if we're like Savannah River, where they, I used to work for the Department of Energy, and the contractor said, hey, just throw the money over the fence and we'll make sure everything gets done. Hey, just send your kids, send your money, we'll make sure everything gets done. That's not the way it works. The kids belong to their parents. The taxpayers pay the freight, and they should be the last, they should have the last word in what their kids are taught. They might not agree with everything. They may have to opt them out of something that has already been decided, but nonetheless, the kids belong to their parents. So if the philosophy of Justice Sotomayor gets implemented, how would anybody ever send their kids or their money here if you have no control? Well, anyway, that's one thing that troubles me. Obviously, some people think that that's the way it should be run. I am not of that persuasion. I think parents should have the ultimate decision.
Thank you.
Now-
Your time is up.
That's all, folks.
Thank you. All right, who's next on the list?
I have two names that signed up the door. The first is Tony O'Connor.
Good evening. I'm here tonight out of concern of the recent budget cuts to the Jazz 2 programs at the middle schools. You may recognize me as an elementary music teacher in the district, and that may lead you to believe that I am approaching this topic from a place of bias. But before I'm a music teacher, I am first and foremost in my life a parent. I have had 3 students go through the middle school jazz programs at Enterprise Middle School. All of them started in Jazz 2 and moved throughout the program into Jazz 1 and then into high school jazz programs. One plans to continue even onto jazz programs in college. Number 4 started his jazz journey today at Enterprise. He has been planning this journey for years. He has said since he was about 8 years old that he wants to play the saxophone so that he can be in jazz band. So I was dismayed to hear that even though our program has upwards of 50 plus members in our band, that there is only funding for 1 teacher. Placing students in a class of 50 plus students with vastly different playing abilities and experience creates an ineffective learning environment for them. The music isn't written to be played by a group that big. The curriculum isn't written to be taught to a group that big. And the festivals and concerts that they attend cannot accommodate groups of that size. I've sat on a fair number of committees in this district, and often we talk about how to positively impact students' mental health. We talk about how to get students more involved in clubs and extracurricular activities. We talk about how to get more parent involvement. We talk about providing places of inclusion for our special needs students. And we talk about how to get students off screens and building face-to-face relationships. Jazz band and all of our music programs are places that address every single one of these issues.
Thank you. Your time is up.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The final name is Andrew Kirk.
I'm here tonight as a parent. We're also asking you to reconsider the cancellation of the Jazz 2 programs. This is my 13-year-old son, Ian. Band is his favorite thing in the world. I'm choking up because when I was 13, my parents got divorced. We moved to Utah. My dad moved to Virginia. And my middle school band teacher and my high school band teacher were my father figures. So in addition to all the things that every music student learns, I also benefited from band in those ways. So band has a special place with our family. What I would like you to understand is that Jazz 2 is the JV program at the middle school level for the 6th and 7th graders. The 8th grade jazz band is what all the band students look up to and admire and aspire to. And that is a pipeline into the high school band programs. By disrupting the Band 2 program, you're disrupting that pipeline of young students picking up an instrument and then making it all the way through the high school programs. And this will have a detrimental effect in those high school programs that I think all of you understand have incredible value. Thank you.
Thank you. That's it. All right, great. Thank you. The board does want to recognize, we know that these staffing and funding situations are really challenging on everyone who is impacted. We know that the district had to make some really hard decisions over the summer about some small classes and some electives and 6-period contracts that could not be supported going forward. And so we regret that it's created a situation like this. We know that the school administrators are trying to come up with alternative models like rotational situations to try to keep these programs in place as best we can, while the district tries to work through some of the funding challenges and as we deal with state and federal funding challenges that we have in the district, not to mention the fact that these programs are paid out of our levy. And if you have watched some of our previous board meetings, you know that the unfunded part of our programs is much bigger than what we even draw from our levy. So as I understand it, with talking to the district, there won't be any staffing changes at this time. So we do thank you for your time in bringing this, and we do hope that the building admin can keep these programs going through rotational assignments or other means as possible. With that, I want to move into our board and student representative and superintendent reports, and we'll start with Dr. Redinger.
Yes, so today was the first day of school and it was a busy one. I got to about half of our schools. I spent more time at all of them. It's always, once you get there, you want to talk to teachers and to the administrators and to students. And one thing I've really noticed was our secondary schools are bursting. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what our final enrollment's going to be for our high schools and our middle schools. Elementary schools, we have a few. Badger Mountain has more kindergarten students than I think they've ever seen. So as Rick Janssens and I have spoken, that neighborhood we think is turning over, a lot more young families. So it's a little too early to know exactly. We always say wait till we see the whites of their eyes, but it does look like Travis's projections look. I don't think we're going to be under those projections, but again, it's too early to predict. But a lot of students at Richland High. Chief Joe, Libby has their largest 6th grade class ever, and so a lot of growth, a lot of students. Thursday, kindergarten starts, and we'll have a better view then of our enrollment. And then Friday, we'll really take a look at with all the buildings in terms of who hasn't shown up and where we're at. And so great first day. A lot of moving parts, as you know, in a school district with busing and feeding the students. And overall, I think it was a very, very successful day. A lot of excitement. I'm really glad it was overcast because it was a hot one. And it was muggy. I feel like we're living in the South or something, how muggy it has been. But I do want to say a big thank you to all of our staff for all their flexibility, And I do appreciate our teachers. They worked all day today and they came tonight. So just know you are appreciated. It doesn't feel like it right now, but just know that you are, and how much we do value our arts programs in the Richland School District. And that is what I have for right now.
Okay, great, thanks. Students. I know today was your first day of school, so you have anything to report?
Yeah, so Richland and Hanford both had our senior sunrises yesterday and then today. And then we had, upcoming, there is the Hanford Athletics kickoff night, which is on Thursday. And that'll be a lot of fun because all the sports will have like their own booths and stuff.
And yesterday we had our freshman only day, and the freshmen seemed really excited and well behaved. So
And well behaved.
yeah, and well,
That's awesome. Great, okay. Rick?
So I don't have a whole lot. WASDA's Ledge Assembly is coming up, and we're not registered yet for the Ledge Assembly. Last time I saw, the credentials don't come to me. I think they come to the board president and vice president, perhaps.
I did not get them. I think was maybe some confusion with the ledge rep assignment last year, if
Could be.
it went to Chelsea or not. So we may have to
Reach out to them.
reach out to them. Yeah.
Right.
I thought you fixed that, Jill, but we may have to.
And my data's 4 or 5 days old. Or Friday is the last time I got something from Logan.
If we weren't registered 4 or 5 days.
I'll email Logan.
Katrina and I have talked about it.
Yeah, we'll reach out to
Find
them.
out who.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'll email Logan then.
Okay.
And then this is just for me. Today is my youngest daughter's birthday. This is the first time this millennium I haven't had a teenager at home. She turned 20 today. That's my youngest. No more teenagers. 7 grandkids though. They're better than kids. Rachel. That's it.
Okay. Bonnie?
I was volunteering all day at Richland High School with ID badges and pictures. It was really fun. There was lots of positive energy with the students. And we also got to, I also got to show some kids where to go and who were lost. There was a lot of new students who were brand new today. So that was exciting. And everyone had a really good attitude. So it was fun.
Jill?
Just a couple things I want to reiterate. Tamara's comments when she gave an update on the Parent Advisory Committee, that we will be sending out a survey. The other thing I want to suggest and recommend to any of the parents that are listening or watching or receiving, please sign up for Parent Square, because that is the best way for the district to get information to you and ensure that it's done. If you have any problems or questions on how to do that, just contact the district and somebody can walk you through that. And we do desperately need a new facilitator and note taker for our Parent Advisory Committee. I think it's a really important aspect that we provide for parents to come and share with a couple board members their concerns, their questions, their resources, and how to get that. So I'd like to see more attendance at these meetings in the upcoming year with more valuable input to the board. You can see that they spend a lot of time on doing their recommendations and really talking about what's happening from that standpoint. So you will see a survey coming out. We'll also put a link to that on the web page. And then if you have any questions, just send that to board feedback too, and we can update that. And the other thing I want to mention is regards to the General Assembly, and I'm glad you brought that up. It was on my list. I would like the board members to take a look at the General Assembly directory that goes out on the pass and do not pass amendments and such that are in the legislative packet. We need to have a conversation about that just to make sure that every one of the board members for the voting board representative, to make sure that it represents the wishes of the entire district. So if the board would just make sure they take a look at that, and then we'll get that on the agenda for next time to have a short discussion about.
So do you want us to only bring the ones that maybe we disagree with their rationale?
Yeah,
Just to pare it down.
exactly. If you have any issues with any of the recommended votes,
Okay.
then just bring it to the board and we can have that conversation and determine how we want to proceed on that. And just so that the community understands what that General Assembly is it's Washington State School Directors Association. All board members from across the state submit positions for legislative support and decision-making across the state. So we put together a list of individuals. Rick serves on the legislative committee right now, where they spend several meetings during the course of the year evaluating and looking at those and how we can best impact the decisions that are being made on a state level that impact our students. So it's really important that we speak as, again, a single voice of board members on the directions and how that goes. I will say that the information is vetted very thoroughly, and they go through a lot of deep research and really helping establish that those legislative priorities truly do impact student outcome and success. Doesn't always necessarily mean that the legislation listens to us, but at least we put that out there so that they understand, with people with boots on the ground, the issues that are being faced with our schools every day. So that's all I have for tonight.
Would it be helpful to have Melissa before that meeting just to talk about things, or is it,
No.
you want
No.
to do that separately?
Yeah, this is just our WASDA.
Yeah,
The
this is
WASDA
just
priorities.
the WASDA priorities. This is not.
I know, but just if they overlap is my,
They'll
No.
overlap, but we
That-
don't.
Yeah, I mean, they will
Okay.
overlap to some
so
degree.
so we can talk about that when we do agenda planning then.
Yeah.
And she'll
Yeah,
come.
but I don't think we need her for the next meeting, but we do need to have that conversation at the next meeting so that it can be before
For
the
the
voting, which
session.
happens in September.
Okay.
Okay. I also attended the Parent Guardian Advisory meeting last week, and I won't repeat stuff that's been said. I will say, just to reiterate a little bit, if we can get more participation, ideas that folks have for topics for that meeting, and really need facilitator and secretary support for that, to work with Jill and I, because that committee is important as it supports the board. So we are really looking forward to that. And those meetings happen on the third Monday of the month pretty regularly, so we can plan on that. Also, again, as I mentioned at the beginning, we did get the letter of resignation from Chelsea Beck. So her position is, we are accepting that letter this evening to officially create the vacancy in our board. And so for our next meeting on September 9th, we will have a timeline and a process worked out that we can share with the public for how we will go about taking applications and the interview process, and process to put somebody in her position for the remainder of her position, which would be for a 2-year term before that position would be up for election again. So we will have that process and timeline ready for the next meeting. Okay, and that's all I have. So we will go ahead and move on to the business portion of our meeting with our performance audit update, and that's Dr. Redinger again.
Yes, so we have been chosen every 3 to 5 years. It used to be called a consolidated review plan. And now they have moved it towards a program review process. So we have been chosen. Derek is so excited there in the back. He is our lead. And what's awesome is Derek is very detailed, and you need detail in this program review. So lots of questions. So he's really getting after it. And what it is OSPI does a program review of a lot of federal funding areas, and they check in different areas to make sure that we are in compliance with state and federal. So the areas will be Title I, Title II, Title III, Title IV. And some of those you heard from the federal government that were suspended sometime for the funding, but we did receive them for this year. McKinney-Vento, that is our homeless student. CTE, so that'll be a very large one. I can't remember the last time I saw. These are usually a rotation of every 3 to 5 years for school districts in the state of Washington. So all of our CTE programs, private schools, civil rights, fiscal cross-cutting, and foster care. So I will be, it'll be really good. It'll be a very comprehensive report, and I will be sharing that later this spring. It starts in January, right, Derek? So but it takes, it's intensive. So staff will be very busy pulling June. Okay. Okay. So in June we'll get it. So I'll be sharing that. And that's the update.
Okay. Any questions about that? for Dr. Redinger? No? Okay. And we will move into the next business portion of our meeting on levy planning. And we have a presentation by Corey Plager, who's calling in.
Good evening. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you.
Perfect. Dr. Redinger, would you like to introduce the subject or should I just dig in?
Oh, no, we can introduce it. And Travis is here too, available to jump in. And I know you have a hurt foot, right? You can't walk, so we're glad you, are you okay?
I'm doing just fine, but if you've seen Home Alone when Marv goes down the stairs and there's a nail on it, I got to experience that. So
Wow.
yeah, I hope
All
there's not
right.
too much wincing in the crowd.
Okay, sounds painful. So yes, so we are another discussion about the replacement levy. And the board wants to start to narrow down the amount, looking at the date. And so if you want to lead the way, Corey, and hopefully we'll start making some decisions if the board feels comfortable this evening. So go ahead, Corey.
Perfect. Can everybody see the PowerPoint presentation that's I have sharing right now? Great.
Yes,
Thank
we
you.
can.
So if you recall, I was in person on June 24th and we were setting the stage for the replacement levy. So as we shared, your levy is going through the 2026 calendar year, but in that calendar, you must renew your levy. So there's no gap of services. We talk about how important it is for the local support from taxpayers to support programs, the arts, music, drama, even just class size reduction. And unfortunately, a lot of the money that we get from local citizens helps supplement basic education, which is not fully funded by the state at this time. I have a few slides in here that are recap slides that I shared in that June 24th meeting, because I think it's nice not to have to go back to find old presentations, but I also won't go through them all word for word, so that you have them just conveniently here. But just a quick reminder that we went over the basics of levies, the basics of bonds, and we shared information about the levy lid laws and how Richland is currently about $6 million under levy lid, so not maximizing the taxes that are allowable, and that there's simple majority, no validation requirement, and you can run a levy for up to 4 years. And Richland School District has run 4-year levies for the last 2 cycles. We also shared the dates that are important. Why are we talking so early? The levy is passed through 2026. But February of 2026 is the most common school election for replacement levies. And if my research is correct, you will not be alone in Tri-Cities. Kennewick School District and Pasco School District will also be replacing their levies as well on the same ballot. So it should be an exciting election locally. Moving forward, we shared a little bit about your levy history, your assessed valuation growth, and the massive speed in which new construction has grown in your economy. For example, I shared that there's been $1.5 billion in growth the last 5 years, and you had $320 million in new growth last year alone. And that's really important for considering your levy in the future and how to have new homes and new businesses contribute to your local school district. I will say I'm a fun fact type person, and I looked up how many school districts had a tax base smaller than the amount of your new construction in just 1 year. And your 1-year growth of $320 million is greater than 65 school districts' total tax base that they've ever had. So that's pretty interesting in my opinion. Moving forward on this presentation, what I really would like to do too is recap the tax rates here. So this is just the final recap slide before we get into the new information. But this shows in green the education program and operations levy, and in tan, the school bond, in gray, the capital construction levy, and in black, the technology levy. One thing that I'd like to bring your attention to is you'll notice that the tax rates have been slowly coming down as those property values go up. The district doesn't have the luxury of taxing new growth or having a bigger bond just because home values have increased. You can only adjust your levy by a vote of the people and only when it's available for replacement. So this is something that you'll see the levies have come down from $5.55 in 18 down to $3.96 in the current year. But today we're not talking about bonds. We're not talking about capital construction levies. We're going to focus on the two levies that are eligible for replacement. And in green here is your EP&O levy, and in the dark color is your technology levy. One reminder is the voters approved your education programs and operations levy at $2.50 per thousand. Today, that is at $2.10. So another visual on what happens when property values outperform estimate. The technology levy is 42 cents. That was approved by voters at 50 cents per thousand. So that's 8 cents lower, also because of assessed valuation growth. So as we move forward, we've prepared a few estimates for you to view. Now, this is really difficult to see on the big screen, but I'll share with you why did we do this. And this is 4 scenarios. When you're building a replacement education and operations levy, it's really important that you see the future. What does growth look like? What growth model should the board adopt looking forward? The last time the school district passed an EP&O levy, they used a 5% growth model. Your growth in the last 5 years has actually been 10% now. And over the last 10 years, 8.5%. New construction has been 3% every year. So 5% was a conservative approach, and it just wasn't keeping up with the actual growth in the community. And that's why some of the rates declined. So I provided some scenarios here that districts routinely consider, and that is scenario 1 is looking at a 4-year replacement education program and operations levy using a 2.5% growth model. All the numbers in gray in that one quartile are actuals. 2026 is an estimate, and then we have in green is what would it look like if the board adopted a resolution that was 2.5% growth and using a $2.50 levy. So each of these quartiles is showing the same thing, just a different forecast out, trying to see the future. What happens if growth is 5% or a more aggressive 7.5%? Scenario 4 in the bottom right-hand corner is kind of a hybrid model where it's assuming that there's still some pretty massive growth in the community because there's still property to develop, but thinking that it might slow down. So that one's a variable AV growth model where it starts at 5% and it slows down to 3% at the end. There's a million different combinations that you can ask for that we'd be happy to provide. None of these are recommendations, more of just things to consider and think about as you're forecasting. And you can see the impact of the growth assumptions on the revenue and what the revenue looks like when it comes to proposing it to your community and whether or not that's something that will be supported. So this is the replacement EP&O levy. We also created the same 4 scenarios with the same growth factors for the technology levy, and assuming the same 50 cents to replace the previous levy at the same tax rate, 2.5% growth model, 5% growth model, 7.5% growth model, and then the variable growth model. So these both mimic each other. So as I said, last time we were at the board meeting, we prepared the data to set the stage. Now we're starting to show you a couple models as you're looking towards the future and building a model for thinking about how this impacts budget. I think I saw the next item on the agenda is adopting budget, and you can see how tight it could be and how tight it is across our state right now with revenue declines due to enrollment. Is this the time to consider different models for EP&O levy estimates? So I went through that pretty quickly, knowing how busy your agenda is, but I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thanks, Corey. Are there questions for Corey?
I don't have any.
I have a quick one. Corey, can you help explain when you were talking about how because of the levy lid and what we did, there was $6 million. Can you explain how that gets, just like in layman's terms, how that actually affects how we could have originally had we've made different choices?
You bet. I
had
think,
additional.
yeah, Vice President Olson, I'll show you this chart here. Now they're a little small, but what you'll notice on the very top right-hand corner, you'll see the size of your community and how it's grown. And you see the steepness of the slope of that curve. So your community has grown, your new construction has grown rapidly. And you'll notice on the bottom slide that we shared back in June, it shows the growth of your levy. and you'll notice that it's not quite keeping up with the growth of your community and your economy. So that's one visual of what happened. But really, to try and explain it in a narrative, is that the district has the ability to tax $2.50 of the total economy in the tax base. And the district forecasted 5%, but it actually grew at 10%. And so the gap would be is what information was available at the time and how aggressive some of these forecasts and projections can be. Some people tend to take a conservative approach when you're searching out 4 years. So the district being in a position where the levy is at $2.10 instead of $2.50 is very common, where districts are having a difficult time trying to keep up with these economics and home values and new construction because it's been a little volatile lately and a little bit crazy, to be honest. So I would say this is something somewhat that most districts are considering right now is how to forecast the future.
So can you explain what happens if you overestimate growth
Yes,
and the growth does not occur?
Great question. If you overestimate the growth, you will be limited by state law and you'll be limited by OSPI and your county treasurer, and they will not let you collect anything above $2.50 of your base. So for example, if you use scenario 3 as your model and you use 7.5% growth and 7.5% growth doesn't happen, but only 5% does, you'll see the difference between these two numbers. They won't let you collect it. They'll let you collect what your actual growth numbers are. So the risk of going too low would be you might leave some money on the table, is how it's claimed. Or if you go too high, you will just have some rollback. But there's also a risk of going so high that certain voters see the number and are no longer supportive. So there's these different factors to consider, and it's part art, part science. We don't know the answer. And so as board members that represent each of their regions, hearing feedback from the community is really important at this time.
And that's where the levy lid comes in, right? When you overestimate and then that that $2.50, which is what the lid is, that's the only thing you can collect regardless of what the average growth was.
Correct. So if you go too low, you're going to leave money on the table. You could have collected more if the economy keeps booming, and vice versa. The county will restrict you and say your community did not grow by this percentage, and so we're going to tax the actual $2.50 rate.
Hey, Corey, is it within your authority to give a recommendation based on what you've seen around the state and in Richland, in terms of what do you have like a modeling that you could share about a possible 4-year for growth for Richland?
It's a good question. I think there's been such overwhelming support historically in Richland School District in your community. I know it's been a little bit lower than historical numbers and averages due to post McCleary, post pandemic. We're starting to see some recovery. I think, the recommendations are, should we ask for the same rate? Should we ask for the same amount? What I will say is that I ran the data, I run analysis statewide using the last 15 years of data, and whether districts ask for more or ask for less or ask for the same amount, there's really no correlation of support. I'll say that all levies are supported locally differently depending on the timing, depending on the culture and the community and the success of the economy in that community. Gas prices come into play. So there's so many factors, but there's no real data that leads me in a certain direction that says, I think 7.5% is a recommendation or a conservative 2.5% is a recommendation. I'll say I would argue that most districts are around the 5% mark still. I know that's what Richland used last time, and there's money left on the table, but I'll say that's somewhat of a common approach is to use number somewhat in the middle.
So I think what Shelley was asking is, what do you project the growth in our area to be? Some might argue that all of the construction we've seen has hit a peak and maybe it's starting to settle out. So have you seen anything regarding that?
That's a great point. So thank you for helping me corral that question in. I think what we're noticing is a slowing of the economy. And the number one factor would be mortgage rates. There's less new development, less growth, less contractors taking out equity loans to do construction. So we are seeing a slowdown in growth. We just are starting to receive preliminary information from certain counties that have data available, and we're in the 3% range, 3 to 4% range. We just received Spokane County, and we just received Snohomish County. Snohomish was in the 5 to 6 range, and Spokane was in the 3 to 4% range. So there are some early indicators that it's not going to be 10%, but Tri-Cities has really bucked a lot of trends. And I think that's due to a lot of the work that's been done locally with the ports and the development, the growth, and bringing business to town and the Hanford. There's so many positives going on that I wouldn't be surprised if the Tri-Cities area held on just a little bit longer before it slowed down, but it could be a year or two.
Thanks, Corey. Other questions?
What other information would the board like from Corey as we're moving forward with settling in an amount?
I don't need more from Corey. I'm interested as we go out to the public to know, you know, these are amounts. We're talking about rates, but we're really going to go out and ask for amounts over the next 4 years if we decide on a 4-year levy. I'm interested if the administration could provide some kind of budget outline of what these levies would spend, or what we would gain by spending these amounts of money. For example, we had the Jazz folks here tonight. That's levy dollars, and we know that we're using levy dollars to supplement special ed and basic ed and transportation and all the things that aren't funded by the state, right? So I'd like to see what these amounts get our students, and you know, where does it go in our community? I think that will be helpful in passing the levy, and that would help me then decide, you know, what rate to go for.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think you're right, Rick. As you said, you know, we're limited to a rate. We pick a growth because at the end of the day, on the ballot, it's a number that goes on the ballot. So if you look at slide 8, where 5% growth is projected, if we chose that with 2.5%, what the ballot would say is 178.5 million. And then that would be what we would collect, regardless of the tax rate, as long as it stayed below 2.5% in growth. Alternatively, if we picked 7.5%, then we would be going out for 189.6 million. So that's the way that the ballot actually states these things, and that's what we have to choose. So I think
and then if we don't have 7.5% growth, then we don't get that amount of money, and
That's
so then
right.
we have to make decisions on what we take away from what we were planning on spending that money on.
Year by year.
Year by right.
year by year. Right. Right. Yeah. So for example, if we picked 7.5, but only 5% happened, we would only be able to collect the 178.5 million.
Right.
And we would just have to budget accordingly.
Hey, Corey, could we, it was my understanding too, can we have a different rate for each year?
Yeah, this is the
variable.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. There's a million opportunities here to consider, and these are just very high level and they're very customizable, but we stand at the ready if there's any more numbers that we could provide.
Where did you get the growth numbers? Was that from the Patrick Jones, where they do a study of the growth for each county?
So
You know, for Spokane.
We have to pick.
Yep. So if you look at the third column on this first sheet where it says AB growth rate, those are actual numbers from your county assessor. And so
Okay,
we've taken
the
the actual numbers. And then the county assessor also releases a split calculation based on new construction. So they provide a couple data points for us. So you'll see the smallest growth you've had in the last handful of years was 3.32%.
That's the lowest.
The lowest.
Okay.
but I don't think we're going to see another 18% year. If I had to gamble, I would say you're going to be between 5 and 7.5 for another year or so, and then maybe between 3 and 5% if the economies do slow down and mortgage rates do have an impact. The problem is you have property, and there's still a lot of housing needs out there, and there's still a lot of permits going on in your community.
There's a lot of buildings too, especially multi-family.
Yes.
Which puts a lot of students in the school.
Yes, it does.
Yes.
So any
Okay.
other questions for Corey? So we'll come back with that information, and if the board thinks of anything else you'd like, so we can start.
And so I think for the EPNO levy and for the tech levy, what the sort of budget would be over the 4 years and what we would spend that money on.
Absolutely, and I know Glenn's already working on that, and Enid
Mhm.
For instructional
Mhm.
tech, and then for our hardware and. Yeah.
Okay,
All right.
so we'll talk about that next time.
All right. So
Thanks,
we'll-
Corey.
Great.
Thank you.
Corey,
Thanks
take
for the
care of that
flexibility.
foot.
Yeah,
Did you
you
get a
bet.
shot? Did you get a tetanus shot?
Tetanus and an antibiotics. So I'm
Good.
doing, I'm having a lot of fun over here.
Okay, take it easy. Thanks for
All right.
coming tonight.
See ya.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Corey. Okay, we will move into our budget discussion and budget adoption. Travis, if you have anything else for us to discuss?
I don't have anything new to discuss. We had the budget hearing a couple weeks ago. And so I'm making the recommendation that the board the motion and approve the resolution 989 and the funding amounts, the appropriation amounts for each of the funds on that resolution.
All right, I'll move resolution number 989, adoption of 25-26 budget.
Can I get a second?
I'll second that.
Okay. Further discussion? Questions for Travis?
I have a quick question. I just want to make sure I understood it right last time. So we don't have to spend this amount of money. This is just the max we can spend. So if our enrollment actually comes in lower and we don't get enough as much apportionment, we don't have to spend the money that we said we might spend.
That is a
There's-
true statement.
Okay, great.
True statement. What I wanted to, I don't know why I'm blanking right now. Oh, I think the last 3 years we've had to do a budget extension
Mhm.
and that costs money. It costs manpower and I would like to not have to do those anymore. And the approach that I'm taking by putting in the capacity to match revenues is a very common approach among school districts in the state. And I think is something that we want to start implementing here at Richland. It is my philosophy on budgeting. But absolutely, we do not have to spend the amount that's on these, on the resolution. And it is my intention to not spend that much.
But what that allows us to do, that if we have any unforeseeable expenses that happen to come up that we need to move on quickly,
Correct.
that we don't have to have another meeting and do the resolution and go through that whole process again.
Correct. I'm gonna use COVID-19 as the greatest example in the world because we got a whole bunch of federal dollars to take care of health needs and that sort of thing, and it increased our expenditures to try and meet those needs. And a bunch of school districts had to do budget extensions because of those extra revenues. There's grants that come in, different opportunities that we aren't aware of until later in the year. And sometimes OSPI gives $50 per student like they did this year. And there's just all these different revenue options that can come in. Enrollment might come in much higher, causing our revenues to be higher. And so by having the expenditures matching the revenues that we have, if revenues go up, we're still going to max out our expenditures at 239. We'll be able to utilize those funds. If we had the lower amount and just budget straight up, this is what we think we're going to need, then we'll have to do a whole budget extension again, asking to take care of our students.
Any further discussion? Okay, and we'll vote. And I'll start with you, Sinan. You get to vote first. Okay.
Yes.
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 It's passed. Thank you, Travis.
The Sanon's first vote was to spend $250 million.
Don't stress it.
Potentially, we don't have to spend that much.
Yeah.
That is true.
Yeah.
Budget.
Just a budget. All right, we will move into our policies 2108 Learning Assistance Program. It's a new policy, Mr. Christensen.
Okay, thank you. Yes, it's the new policy that we're proposing for the Richland School District. It's classified as critical by WASDA. And these are things that we are currently doing. We just want to make sure they were in the policies. Any questions?
So I think we got an update to this one that you removed the COVID paragraph because that
Yes, ma'am.
expires in
5 days.
like 5 days.
Yes,
So,
ma'am. Yep.
yay. Like to see COVID gone from things
That's right.
as
Get
much
it
as we
out.
can. Questions about this policy?
Just come in the mail, then the update.
Email.
Email, okay.
Yes. Mhm. So my question is, the district submits an annual report to OSPI detailing these following things. And your memo says we do that anyway.
We do.
What does that report look like?
It's through the EDS system. It's through it's an online system. It's an annual report that we do every year. It's asks the questions about how these things are done. And so we just answer it in that. It's kind of a questionnaire, kind of survey kind of questions.
Okay. And so we would be doing that again this year
Yes,
for
every
September
year.
30th. Yeah. So I think some of us have requested that when we do those, if we can just get those in consent so that the board's aware of what we submit.
Okay.
For these submissions to OSPI, that would be really great.
Okay.
Do you have a question? Derek has a question because he's in charge of that report.
Derek, why don't you come up here so I can hear you?
So in the EDS system, it's just a huge database and you have like, some of the format is like survey data from the 21 different schools and there's 20 different questions they have to respond to. Some of it is amount of growth, some of it's programming. There's different tabs, so it doesn't like spit out a report. Report is probably the wrong term, but if there's like specific information from that you would kind of want to see, we could certainly give that, but it's not just like, hey, here's like a report, like a summary of what we did this year. It's way too complex for that. And that's why it's in the EDS system.
That particular reports.
The LAP report. Yeah, there's like finances, budget, any revisions, staffing, there's a lot that goes into that. Again, we can provide information on things, but it wouldn't be like, here's our report that we're submitting, because there's so many things along the year that you put into that, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So if we wanted just a recap sort of what that is, because like one of the things in the policy says the district may use up to 15% of learning assistant program allocation to deliver academic and non-academic. So could we glean from that information just a quick synopsis of
Like how we're using funds?
Yeah, like how we're using funds, what our anticipated outcome was, what the outcome was. So one of the things in reviewing some of these policies is I think it gives us, the board, and obviously you guys, the opportunity to really go in and evaluate the programs that we're doing and what the overall return on investment of that program is. Because if we're investing X number of dollars and then we don't know what the impact to the students were, how do we know if that's a program we want to necessarily? And I think you guys already do that with a lot of the programs.
Each building does that because
Yeah.
it's different. And I can certainly tell you what the $4 million goes towards. It's pretty easy. It's all staffing and intervention materials, but I can tell you that off the top of my head. It's our instructional specialists at the elementary level. It funds our middle school interventions with adding $750,000 this year because we actually got our numbers correct. We're going to be able to fund graduation assistant credit retrieval classes at the high school that we're currently funded out of basic ed, some para-educator support in the elementaries, and just some of our intervention materials like benchmark phonics intervention and phonics for reading, as well as ILIT at the middle school. So those are the things that we fund. It just adds up to a lot when doing those.
So maybe could you provide like a memo
Sure.
that just gives a synopsis of what that report to OSPI is, just to put in our consent when that gets done?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll submit that by September 30th. Like I
Mhm.
said, every year we just wait on the finances as a lot of that goes to salary. So we have to get that reconciled. And then our fiscal analyst gets that, put it in, and it'll be in there by September 30th. So yeah, and I can come to board leadership or something as far as what exactly you want in that
Mhm.
to make
Okay.
sure it's what you're looking for.
All right. Yeah, you could give us a draft at board leadership and
Yep.
then we can talk
Yep.
about it. That'd be great.
Yep.
Yeah,
Great.
thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, Derek.
Thanks, Derek.
So the information that I'd be interested in are like numbers 1, 2, and 3 at a synopsis level, not detail
Mhm.
level.
Exactly.
What are the outcomes?
How
Because
do
we spent
measure?
$4 million. What are the outcomes from it?
Yeah, I wrote those down for him.
Great. Any other questions or discussion? Can I get a motion to approve for first reading?
First reading for policy 2108, learning assistance program.
Second.
Any further discussion? No, and we'll vote. Anon?
Yes.
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 Okay, passed for first reading. And then 2163, response to intervention.
Yes, another critical one by the Washington State School Directors Association. And this one has just some minor rewording changes to make it a little bit more concise in there. And those are in red. Any questions there?
I do have a quick question. There's a couple sections in here where it talks about principal judgment.
Okay.
I think all our principals have great judgment. That's not my point. But my point is, how do we ensure that there's a consistency level across the schools in that judgment? And I don't know if we tweak that where it's, you see what I'm,
Sure. Yeah. Fill it out
because
a little bit,
it becomes a little bit subjective based on who's evaluating and looking at it.
Okay.
When we leave it to individual interpretation of a set of data facts.
Okay.
And that was my only thing on that one.
Where do you see that here?
I don't.
Or was it on the other one?
Is it the
It's not
next
on
one?
this
It might be the next one. Sorry.
It is.
This one's great, just the way it is.
Yeah, it's on the.
Yes, it's the next
It's
one.
the
Sorry,
next one.
my
All
bad.
right.
Okay.
Yes.
I wrote it
thank
on
you.
the next one already.
Okay.
So prepared
read
that I
mine.
was, you read my mind?
No, I just wrote it on the next one.
Okay.
That
You're
was
just
nice
one
not to
step
correct her
ahead.
in public. I'll do that for you.
I don't.
Yeah.
That's not my position.
All right. Can I get a motion for 2163 for first reading?
I'll make a motion for that.
Second.
All right. Any further discussion on 2163? Okay, we'll vote.
Yes.
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 All right, 2163 is approved for first reading. Now on to 3143. This is the one.
And this is the one that we did January 14th. That's why I knew what you were talking about, because we talked about it the last time.
And I will not reiterate my
That's okay. I got you.
my
Yep.
jumping of the,
I was just gonna wait till you're finished talking, but yes. So, yeah, so we'll take a look at that and see, maybe spell it out a little bit more on that, when it says principal's call on that principal judgment. Because it's about, how you get the information out to the staff.
people.
Yeah. Maybe I can run some stuff by you offline
Okay,
on that.
okay.
Okay.
All right.
And then the only addition there was the one in red on page 4.
And that is an addition based on a new,
It is new House
RCW?
Bill 1296.
okay,
Yeah.
okay,
And that RCW is updated on that.
okay. All right, so we will have some further iteration on principal judgment
Yeah.
that will iterate through board leadership and bring this back for a second reading.
Yep. We'll
Can I
do
get
it.
a motion for first reading with those changes?
I'm a first reading 3143.
Second that.
And we'll vote
Yes.
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 yes,
Yes.
Okay. And policy 3210, non-discrimination.
Yes, and this is another one that's critical identified by WASDA. And it is just changed a little bit on the protected status language in there, and that's updated in red there as well. And we already have the model student handbooks are all updated with this language up on the website, and then the schools link their student handbooks to the website, which has the updated language.
And again, this is mandated by the House
It
bill.
is.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Any discussion of this one? Can I get a motion for first reading?
I will make a motion for first reading.
A second.
Second.
Okay. And we'll vote?
Yes.
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 Great.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tori. Okay, that is the end of the business portion of our agenda, and we will move to consent. Are there any items from consent that folks would like to remove tonight? I would like to remove 4.3 from consent.
You want a motion for remaining?
Okay,
I'll move the consent agenda items 4.1, 4.2, and 4.4 through 4.8.
I'll second that.
okay. Any further discussion? I just want to make a note to Ken and his team with the documentation received on the Taptail Elementary School acceptance. Over 132 punch list items that they went through over 4 years to get to acceptable place. So I know that it was a long document and it was a lot to read, but good to finally have it done and final. So good job. So we will vote for consent.
Yes.
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 Great. And for 4.3, there was another very long document with the school improvement plans that I know the building administrators and staff have been working on. And the board has provided a lot of feedback to the district teams to make some updates and improvements to those. And I know that those are in progress, and we appreciate some of the consistency and updates that they're making. But I would like to move that we put a hold on that for this week and put that back on the agenda in 2 weeks when we have all of those updates final, so that we know that we're approving final documents with those updates in them. Okay. Super. Appreciate all of the work with your staff on that. And then we will move to our future agendas. So. Too many dead trees. I do. So for September 9th, we are going to add the legislative priorities, the WASDA legislative priorities discussion as a board discussion topic through the business. Encourage parents listening that at the September 9th meeting, we're going to have a presentation about the Custodio platform, which is software for parents to be able to restrict their Chromebook access to the internet during non-school hours and weekends and such things. I know that that got a lot of rave reviews last year, but not a lot of people knew about it. So we put it on the agenda this year to give everybody detailed instructions on how to access it and how to use it. So we're looking forward to that presentation by Glenn. And as I said earlier, the board vacancy timeline is also on our agenda for next time. And then we'll start our district goal discussion with our fiscal goals and human capital and operations goals discussions as well. So other items for the 9th?
I'd like to know the might be on here, budget status for next time. I'm looking. I don't want a big budget discussion, just enrollment.
Oh,
What
an
are we
enrollment
looking like?
update?
We can,
Yeah.
we can add that, yeah.
Enrollment update.
Even if it's just written in here, but
Yeah.
where are we in? Yeah.
Did you have something you want? Perhaps?
We'll be able to provide preliminary numbers. The official numbers still get worked out and usually are released more around September 15. The enrollment numbers will be part of my packet with the fiscal update again, starting with next month's fiscal update, as I hadn't been providing it this month and last month because we didn't have any real enrollment changes, but it will be part of the fiscal update package moving forward again on the second meeting. But
On the
I'll be able to provide preliminary numbers if we're wanting that.
Yeah, preliminary would be good. And a little bit of a smile, a little bit of frown, or kind of in the middle. Yeah, wherever, whatever you're kind of feeling.
Roger that.
Yeah. And then the levy planning discussion will have the 4-year budget that we talked about for both EP&O and tech levy. Yep, great. And then for September 23rd, sounds like for that one, we'll have the full fiscal update from Travis. And then at that one, we will focus on draft academic goals. Any other topics for board meetings we'd like to add into the notes? No? All right, anything for the good of the order? All right, we're adjourned. Thank you.